on the Faith Zone blog. Here's what I want to say to you, and I've decided to do it through a video rather than in written form because I want you to see how strongly I feel about this. Right now, we are in a lot of turmoil. All of us have challenges. It doesn't matter who we are. The important thing to remember is that this is part of the human condition. It's not something new. 100 years ago, people were facing grand challenges and they struggled through them. On 20 years ago, 40 years ago, right now, all of us have challenges. Some of them are things that we can control and they're really self-inflicted, and we need to accept responsibility for that. And if we don't like these things in our life, then we need to change them. But some of them are outside our control. And those we're stuck with either accepting or letting them drive us nuts. There's no benefit in letting them drive you nuts. You do what you can and then put it on the altar. Because if you will do your part, God will do the rest. If you look in the Bible all the way through it, every miracle has been two parts. First, the person asking for the miracle had to do their share. And then what they couldn't do, God stepped in and he did. So here's the time not to be hopeless or to feel helpless. This is the time to assert your faith. Choose to believe that if you do what you can do, God will do the rest, because he will. Otherwise, we'd have eradicated ourselves a long time ago. 100 years ago, people faced major challenges. We got through them one day at a time. And when one day at a time seems like too much, go 1 minute at a time. I know when my mother was in ICU for 6 months, and I had to stay at the hospital with her most of the time because she couldn't talk, and by a miracle, I intuited what she was after. So it was very difficult for me to leave her there with no way to communicate outside of that. Well, during that time, there were, being in a hospital 6 months when you're sick is tough. When you're well, it's not much easier because you're constantly surrounded with all of the things that come with having someone that you love very much being ill and hurting and going through all of this. Anyway, what sustains and lasts and gets you through it is looking at small pieces. You can eat a bear if you do it a bite at a time. So sometimes our leaps of faith can be huge, enormous things. But sometimes, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, they're little. And sometimes you can't take a whole day. You can't stand a whole day. But you can take 5 minutes. Or you can take a minute. Whatever it is, deal with it. Don't push it under the rug. Deal with it. Because you will get through it if you do. Intact. And maybe on the other side of it, you will see many benefits from it. I did. And I hope that you will too. So do what you can. Put the rest on the altar. But don't give in. That's the coward's way out. It's the easy way out. You have authority behind you. You who believe can call on your help that never fails you. Okay, enough of the lecture. It's just that I've gotten so many emails and notes from those of you who are really concerned about things on a national level and an international level, and those things are important. But remember that throughout history there have been crises. We, as a nation, can make the choice to focus on what is important to us, act on it, and change things the way that we desire them to be changed. We may not be able to change things for an entire country. We may not have that kind of power or pull, but we can change them where we live, and we can lead by example. And that's an important thing to remember. We too, this too will pass, and we too shall endure. Eternity is a lot longer than a lifetime. So we need to keep our attention front and center. I was thinking the other day about all of this, and like I said, I've been getting hundreds of emails on this from you guys, so I know it's really significant to you. And it's significant to me too. These things are important, and they're ones that we should not ignore, we should address. But I was thinking about it, and something that has much longer term consequences, the eternal kind of consequences. Yes, America is in trouble, and America needs help. The greatest help that you can give your country is to pray for it. I fully believe that with every atom in my entire body. That is the number one best thing you can do. Tweeting and writing letters to your congressman, that's great. But it does not have the impact or the potential for positive results that are held in prayer. I was thinking the other day about that eternal heavenly help, about the night that Jesus was born. Christmas is upon us, and my heart has been on that. And I thought, we always look at Christmas from our own perspective. And a lot of people get depressed around the holidays, and instead of celebrating the joyous birth of Jesus Christ. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, what if you look at Christmas from God's perspective? God chose to send his son. His son was born. Imagine being God and looking down and watching the birth of your child. There would be joy, but there would also be some bittersweet thoughts, because as God, you know exactly what's in store for him. All of it. Imagine the strength that it took to do that. That's the eternal kind of heavenly help that we have been given. And I wrote a little article on that. It's on the Faith Zone blog. But I couldn't touch. This is one time when words were insufficient to handle all of the feelings that came with thinking about that. As an imperfect parent, you can imagine, but it's so awesome, and it is so humbling, and it is such a testament as to the depth and the truth about unconditional love. So this Christmas season, when you're contemplating your challenges and you're contemplating the troubles that we're facing collectively and that you're facing individually in your family, in your home, within yourself, your conflicts, think about being God and watching that child of yours born and knowing what he would face. And that, then you will have a very good grip, I think, on putting things in their proper perspective. Again, lecture over, and I surely hope that helped. I know it awed me, and it removed a lot of the surface clutter and stress and genuine concern. It made it bearable, and I hope that it will for you too. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me this year, and always. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate your cards, your letters, your notes, your Facebook posts. You're just so good to me, and I appreciate it more than I can tell you. So think about what happened this year in your life. Think about what you want to happen next year. Watch the blog on the kitchen table for the why we need a plan so that 2010 can be even more fulfilling and more rewarding. And when you get down, you remember something that is definitely worth remembering. Problems will always exist. Crises will always exist. There's no way to avoid them if you're a human being. What you can avoid is letting them run you by putting them in perspective. So I hope that you'll do that. And I appreciate you coming by and visiting and listening to this long-winded lecture. You know how I am when I get going and the thoughts just tumble. I wish you and yours many, many, many blessings.